December 19th, 1944. Verdun, France. The room smells of wet wool, cigarette smoke, and stale coffee. Maps are spread across the long table, creased, smudged, stabbed with colored pins that no longer make sense. Outside, sleet taps against the windows like impatient fingers. Inside, the war has gone wrong. General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands at the head of the table, jaw tight, eyes sunken from days without real sleep. The Ardennes forest, quiet, snow-choked, and written off as impassable, has exploded. German armor has punched through American lines with a violence no one expected. Entire divisions are reeling, communications are severed, roads are clogged with refugees, wrecks, and ice. And now there's one word everyone keeps circling on the map: Bastogne. A small Belgian town. 7 roads converge there like spokes on a wheel. Lose it, and the German advance can flow west unhindered. Hold it, and the offensive bleeds time. The problem is simple and terrifying. Bastogne is surrounded. The 101st Airborne Division, paratroopers without parachutes, infantry without armor, is dug in around the town. They're cold, low on ammunition, running out of food. German artillery pounds them day and night. Panzer divisions are closing in, tightening the noose. Someone in the room mutters the unthinkable. We may have already lost it. The words hang in the air. You can almost hear the clock ticking. Eisenhower turns his gaze to a man seated off to the side, polished boots planted wide, riding crop resting against his knee. He's calm, almost irritatingly so. While others wear exhaustion on their faces, this man looks like he's been waiting for this moment. General George Smith Patton, Jr., Commander, 3rd United States Army. Patton doesn't fidget, he doesn't flip through notes. His eyes are fixed on the map, already seeing something the others aren't. Eisenhower breaks the silence. "George," he says, voice steady but sharp, "how fast can you relieve Bastogne?" The room goes still. This is not a theoretical question, not a planning exercise. This is a countdown. The men in Bastogne don't have weeks. They might not have days.
Patton looks up. 48 hours. For a split second, no one speaks. Then someone laughs, not because it's funny, but because it sounds impossible. 48 hours. Patton's Third Army is facing east, driving toward the Saar. To reach Bastogne, he would have to pivot the entire army 90 degrees north, 3 corps, hundreds of thousands of men, thousands of vehicles, on icy roads, through brutal winter weather, under enemy pressure. No one has ever done that, not like this, not this fast. Eisenhower leans forward. "You mean you hope to be there in 48 hours? Patton shakes his head once. "No, sir, I'll be there." That's the moment, the one history remembers. But to understand why that promise mattered and why it wasn't bravado, you have to leave the warm room in Verdun and go somewhere else, north, into the snow. December 21st, 1944, Bastogne, Belgium. The cold is not just uncomfortable, it's predatory. It creeps into boots, stiffens fingers, steals feeling from exposed skin until pain gives way to numbness. Foxholes are frozen solid, rifles seize. Men huddle together for warmth, breath hanging in the air like smoke. German artillery slams into the perimeter. Shells burst in white flashes against the snow, sending ice and dirt raining down. Trees splinter, the ground shakes. Inside a battered building near the town center, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe rubs his hands together and stares at a piece of paper. It's a surrender demand. The Germans promise annihilation if the Americans refuse. The words are formal, polite, confident. McAuliffe exhales once and mutters the reply before anyone can stop him. Nuts. The single word will become legend, but right now it's not bravado, it's defiance born of necessity. There is no retreat, no breakout, only holding on and hoping someone, anyone, is coming. But hope doesn't stop shells. The men of the 101st dig deeper. Bandages are reused, rations are halved, ammunition is counted round by round. Wounded soldiers lie on stretchers in freezing buildings, some without morphine, some without blankets. And every hour the question hangs heavier: where is the relief? South of Bastogne, Patton's army is already moving. This didn't start with Eisenhower's question. It started weeks earlier, quietly, obsessively, because Patton believed in one thing above all else: preparation.
While other commanders planned for fair weather and straight advances, Patton planned for chaos. He made his staff draft contingency orders. What if the Germans attack here, or here, or here? What if the front collapses? What if we have to turn north? They hated it. Staff officers complained. Subordinates rolled their eyes. Why waste time planning for something that probably wouldn't happen? Patton didn't care. Plans are worthless, he once said. Planning is everything. So when the Ardennes erupted and Eisenhower asked the question no one else was ready to answer, Patton didn't calculate. He remembered. Within minutes of leaving the meeting, Patton is already barking orders. Maps are unrolled, routes are selected, units are reassigned, corps commanders are summoned. Third Army will pivot now. Engines roar to life in the cold. Columns of tanks, trucks, and artillery begin to snake north along icy roads. Drivers curse and pray as vehicles skid and slide. MPs stand at intersections in the snow, arms waving, redirecting traffic in a choreography that has to be perfect or everything jams. German reconnaissance planes spot the movement. Artillery fires blindly into the roads. Snowstorms ground Allied air support. Visibility drops to nothing. Men march anyway. Boots crunch through snow. Breath burns in lungs. Frostbite claims fingers and toes. Sleep comes in stolen minutes by the side of the road. And still, the clock ticks. 48 hours. Patton rides at the head of the movement, pistol on his hip, eyes scanning the columns. He knows what failure means. If Bastogne falls, the German offensive gains momentum. The war stretches longer. More men die. This isn't just a maneuver, it's a gamble. Back in Bastogne, the noose tightens. German tanks probe the perimeter, testing for weakness. Infantry assaults crash against foxholes. The defenders repel them with everything they have: rifles, machine guns, bazookas fired at point-blank range. Snow turns pink, then brown. Radio operators strain to catch fragments of transmissions through static. Somewhere out there, Third Army is moving, supposedly. But the men in the foxholes can't see it, can't feel it. All they know is the cold and the waiting. And far to the south, Patton is racing the weather, the enemy, and time itself, betting everything on a promise that now echoes through the frozen Ardennes. I'll be there in 48 hours. The question is no longer can he, it's what happens if he's wrong. The snowstorm arrives like an ambush. December 22nd, 1944. Somewhere south of Bastogne. It starts as a whisper, fine flakes drifting sideways, then thickens into a white wall that erases the horizon. Roads disappear, landmarks vanish. Convoys crawl forward at walking speed, headlights dimmed to slits. Engines overheat, tracks snap, trucks slide into ditches and are abandoned where they stall, frozen monuments to bad luck and worse timing. For most armies, this would be the end of the plan. For Patton, it is simply friction. He rides forward anyway, helmet pulled low, scarf wrapped tight against the cold. His command jeep splashes through slush and ice. At every crossroads, military police wave glowing batons, redirecting traffic in a ballet rehearsed only on paper until now. This is where Patton's reputation begins to change shape. Not the speeches, not the swagger. This. 3 Corps, 3rd, 12th, and 20th, are executing one of the most complex maneuvers of the war in near-zero visibility. Units that were attacking east just days ago are now swinging north, leapfrogging each other on narrow roads never meant for this weight, this volume, this speed. Orders are short, brutally clear. Keep moving, no bunching, no excuses. A regimental commander radios in. The roads are iced solid, movement slowed to a crawl. Patton's reply snaps back. Then crawl faster. Men curse him under their breath. Then they shoulder their packs and move, because the alternative, failure, is unthinkable. North of them, in Bastogne, the night of December 22nd is one of the longest. German artillery resumes at dusk. Shells arc in from every direction, timed, methodical, relentless. The defenders can tell the calibers by sound now. The shriek of incoming rounds sends men diving into frozen foxholes that offer little protection. In a makeshift aid station, medics work with numb fingers. Plasma is frozen solid. Bandages are as stiff as boards. Wounded men grit their teeth, some whispering, some silent, some already gone. The Germans try again to break the perimeter. Infantry advances under covering fire. Tanks rumble forward, engines growling through the snow. Bazooka teams wait until the last possible second, firing into armor at ranges so close they can see the enemy crews through vision slits. Explosions bloom in the darkness, flames lick at wrecked vehicles, screams echo, then fade. The line holds. Barely.
Inside the Bastogne command post, radios crackle. The weather has grounded Allied aircraft for days. No resupply, no close air support. Ammunition reports are grim. Food is down to scraps. And still, no sign of relief. One officer asks the question no one wants to answer. What if they don't get here? No one responds, because everyone is listening to the radio, waiting for a voice from the south. That voice finally comes, but it's not comforting. Patton's spearhead runs headlong into German resistance. Elements of the 4th Armored Division, tasked with leading the drive to Bastogne, encounter dug-in enemy infantry supported by tanks and anti-tank guns. The Germans know what Bastogne means, too. They are not retreating politely. Snow explodes as shells impact. Tanks trade fire at close range. The narrow roads funnel American armor into kill zones. Progress slows to yards, then feet. Time bleeds away. Patton arrives forward, dismounts, and walks among the tanks. He studies the terrain, the smoke, the bodies. He knows the math. Every delay eats into his promise. 48 hours. He issues new orders. Attack at first light. No pauses, no waiting for perfect conditions. At dawn on December 23rd, the weather breaks. The clouds lift like a curtain. Blue sky. For the first time in days, the roar of Allied aircraft fills the air. P-47 Thunderbolts scream down through the cold, strafing German positions, bombing artillery, tearing open supply lines. Over Bastogne, parachutes blossom in the sky, white and green and red, supplies raining down to the trapped defenders. Ammunition, food, medical kits. Men cheer. Some cry. It's the first tangible proof that they are not forgotten. But airdrops don't break sieges. Armor does. South of Bastogne, the 4th Armored Division pushes again.
Tanks advance through villages shattered by shell fire. Infantry ride the halls, clinging on as rounds snap overhead. German resistance stiffens, then fractures, then reforms. Every mile is paid for. Patton receives updates constantly. He marks the map with a pencil, jaw clenched. His staff watches the clock. December 23rd, night. The 48-hour mark is approaching. Patton says nothing about it. In Bastogne, December 24th dawns gray and bitter. Christmas Eve.
The Germans launch another assault, perhaps hoping to break American morale on the symbolic day. Artillery pounds the lines. Infantry surge forward. Again, the defenders repel them, exhausted, half frozen, but unbroken. The sound of fighting drifts across the snow-covered fields. Then something new, a low rumble. Not artillery, not aircraft, engines. At first, no one dares to believe it. Then a radio message crackles through. Enemy contact. Wait, correction, friendly armor approaching from the south. Men climb out of foxholes despite orders. They peer through binoculars, through drifting snow, and there, moving toward them, are American tanks, Shermans. White stars are visible on the hulls. At approximately 4:45 p.m., a tank from Company C, 37th Tank Battalion, 4th Armored Division, punches through German lines near the village of Bastogne. Infantry fan out behind it, firing as they run. The siege is cracked, not shattered, not ended, but broken. The first American soldiers reach the perimeter. Hands are shaken, slaps on the back. Some men just stand there, staring, unable to process it. Relief has arrived. Patton's promise, derided, doubted, nearly impossible, has been kept. 48 hours, almost to the minute. But Patton doesn't celebrate. He knows what this really means.
Bastogne is no longer surrounded, but it is still under threat. The corridor is narrow. German counterattacks will come. The battle is not over. Still, something fundamental has changed. Momentum. Word spreads quickly through Allied ranks. The Third Army has turned the tide. The German offensive has been blunted. The myth of invincibility, the surprise, the shock, is gone. In Verdun, Eisenhower receives the confirmation. He allows himself a rare smile. In Bastogne, McAuliffe steps outside, breath frosting in the cold air, and watches American tanks roll past ruined buildings. He knows history will remember the word nuts, but the men here will remember something else. The sound of engines, the sight of armor, the moment hope became real. And far to the south, George S. Patton stands over a map, already planning the next move, already thinking beyond Bastogne. Because for him, this was never about legend. It was about a preparation meeting opportunity, and the ruthless will to act before the moment slips away. The question now is not whether Patton could keep a promise. It's what this moment will cost him and the men who must now push forward into a winter that still has teeth.